What is up, guys? How are we doing? Welcome back to another episode of the Jedi In Exile with us, the Jedi In Exile. We are here today to talk about what is technically episode 4 of Kenobi, but obviously we got that mad double bill at the beginning, so we'll put that one to one side. So, episode 4. Brian, talk to me.
Yeah, listen, I'm still loving the series. That's the first thing I want to point out there. I'm still loving the series. This one was a shorter episode, so immediately that's the first thing I look at now. Whenever I look at the episode, I look at the length, and this one was 36 minutes.
As I say, it's like
So
36, 38 minutes.
Yeah, and you always take like 5 minutes off because I have an insanely long credits at the end. So listen, this episode was to me a bit of a nothing episode. That nothing really happened much. Nothing was really groundbreaking. Nothing was like there wasn't any major reveals. There was some cool moments, but this is one of those episodes that I really write home about. But it's probably key for the story. So a few things obviously happened in it. We get another hallway scene. Star Wars just love a hallway scene, don't they?
So dramatic, mate. So dramatic.
Yeah, I think this one was key to showing us more about how the Inquisitors operate. And obviously, we're delving a bit more into the Inquisitors themselves with the whole, I'm going to call them trophies. They're like victims, it's Jedi or Force sensitive beings that they've like, it's almost like the opposite of frozen in carbonite. They've like preserved them in jelly.
That
like
sweet orange jelly.
yeah, it's yeah. I mean, nothing really happened in the episode, so there's not really too much for me to kind of say whether I liked or disliked it. It was just a kind of it's there.
Yeah, I
What about
do.
you?
I don't know. I'm trying to work out the angle for this episode, right? Because obviously we know that so far all of the episodes something has happened in them that has kind of really
Gripped us.
Yeah, and like driven the story on or set something up or done something. And I wonder whether this is like the path being developed into the rebellion a little bit, with the whole we're not soldiers, well now you are piece with was it Wade dying at the end. So I'm trying to kind of work out that angle. I think it went a long way to establishing more of a relationship between Obi-Wan and Leia, because this was not just a do I come out of hiding and potentially risk getting caught. This is I'm essentially taking on a suicide mission to save her. So I think that kind of speaks volumes and tells us a lot about Obi-Wan's character a bit more. But also it really does develop that relationship with Leia, and you can kind of see, even though they've not known each other very long, you can see the whole kind of piece with Leia where when she thinks he's dead, and the kind of the absolute despair and everything. So I think that's interesting. It's cool to see, and I really hope that kind of goes somewhere with everything that's going on. I think that we got some cool moments, not necessarily moments that were huge in the story as such, but that were just kind of pretty cool scenes to witness. In particular, the one of Obi-Wan in the dark when he actually goes and saves Leia from the interrogation room, and all the lights go out, and you just kind of see the blade ignite, which I guess is kind of continuing that weird playing with light that they did in episode 3 when Vader was kind of chasing him. Cool to see it flipped the other way round though, where we were scared of Vader and the only light source was Obi-Wan's lightsaber, to kind of being actually it's Obi-Wan's the one that's scary in this scene to the stormtroopers.
Yeah. Well, they've
So
used
that's
the
cool.
lightsabers a lot better now, haven't they? So when they were filming all the films before, it was just a stick, and then obviously the effects put the lightsaber in. What they're doing now is the lightsabers actually have a bright blade on them.
Yeah,
You can actually they actually emit light, don't they?
yeah
Which a
they
lightsaber would do.
they started doing that in Force Awakens
Yeah,
and the sequels, which is actually really interesting if you go back and watch any of the original trilogy, where there's like promotional shots where somebody has essentially had to create a light source on a photo to try and generate that for the like shots that they've used for promotional photos. But then when you watch the movie, like it doesn't exist, which is it's interesting. But no, I thought that was really cool. Um, Picking you up on the hallway things, I I enjoyed the scene in the hallway with Obi-Wan holding back the water. I thought that was interesting in that he had his kind of I was gonna say redemption moment. It's not really redemption, but the whole kind of against essentially sacrificing himself for Leia. So that's the second time in two
I thought it
episodes.
showed how much power he has had come back to him through the Force in that moment.
So
Because there's no way that Obi-Wan in episode 1, I think, would have been able to stop that water coming in.
no, so somebody
Um,
actually massively pointed out that there was a really symbolic piece in the fight between Vader and Obi-Wan last week, where Vader drove Obi-Wan almost down to his knees, and then Obi-Wan pushed him back, like essentially stood back up and pushed him back. And somebody was like, "It's a really symbolic moment of him essentially being brought to his weakest point, Vader forcing him to his weakest point, but actually also giving him the tools necessary to bounce back." And so maybe that's kind of where this is going. Is this is him kind of finding his feet again as that kind of Jedi character, that Jedi role. Um, let's talk about. You've already touched on it briefly, but the weird orange jelly and the peeps. We
yeah, so this is an example of Dave Filoni constantly trying to get a Clone Wars character
little
into
Easter
live
eggs,
action.
little
Yeah.
Easter eggs.
So the first victim, we'll call them, the first victim we see is good old Master Sunuga, who appears in a few Clone Wars episodes. He's like an elder Jedi. I think the first time we see him at Ahsoka, has she lost her lightsaber?
Yeah,
Someone's nicked it, and he helps her well, in the underbelly of
helps her,
Coruscant.
helps her.
Yeah, he helps her get the lightsaber back, and he does appear in a few episodes, and he's like this wise old, well,
He's
you
essentially
said
like a
off
non.
camera wise old goat man.
It's like a non-fighting Yoda, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah, and
all the
talks
wisdom, but
small.
like doesn't do anything.
Yeah. No, he's yeah, and it made me laugh to begin with because I was like, is that him from Clone Wars? And I was like, yeah, that's Master Sunuga. It's Dave Filoni again, just trying to justify Clone Wars and ram Clone Wars down everyone's throats,
I
which I'm
think
all for, by
I
the way.
think more than just that, like it's going to be really interesting to see what they kind of do with that, whether there's a purpose behind that.
It's
In
like
the co-
trophies, isn't it?
well,
Like where you'd have a bear on the wall.
there's a
Like,
couple of theories for me because they attempted to like the Empire went through this massive thing of trying to eradicate the Jedi completely and try to prevent them from becoming martyrs and symbols for people. So they went through the whole thing of like burning the leftover lightsabers and stuff so that it was like just completely wiping them from the face of the earth. And I wonder whether this is potentially to serve the same purpose, whether this is a if we have all of the evidence, then nobody else has the evidence. They can't be, like if there's no grave for them to go and visit, then they can't use that as a
I
like a
think what's interesting is it reminded me of one of the early Rebels episodes where Kanan gets reports that Luminara is still alive,
yeah
and they go hunting for and Luminara's skeleton, sorry, and you can see her skeleton is inside this chamber, And I wonder whether Luminara is one of the victims, and because Kanan still senses Luminara. He's like, I can sense her presence. So maybe their bodies, and there's something with this jelly or something that, I don't know, that is linked to all this. Because it just reminded me of that Rebels episode that they had Luminara there. Kanan could sense her presence, and then suddenly it just evaporated. And can't be for nothing. Maybe she was preserved. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there's every possibility. Like we just don't know. Maybe it's something to do with cloning. That was something that we were discussing just before we came on. Was that
Yeah.
obviously we've seen all of the stuff with Moff Gideon. We know that at the end of Bad Batch, season 1, that we see the cloning, the Kaminoans taken from Kamino to a place that is famous within the old EU for being the place where all of the experiments and the cloning was done for the Force users. So we just don't know at this point, but it's going to be interesting. Let's be honest, they've not done that just for the sake of doing it.
No, very much so. The grand plan is in motion.
There was too big a thing made of it. It wasn't just an Easter egg. Like, Kenobi spent some time in there, saw it all. We got to see a few faces.
That
And
would have
kind
been
of
very haunting for him, that would. Let's face it, we didn't see all of them either. So there could be scenes in that area. That's obviously where they maybe interrogate Jedi as well, because that's where Leia's being interrogated, isn't it?
Yeah. So we just don't know. It's interesting to see what they do with that. So I thought that was quite cool. Something that I mentioned to you just before we came on is the absolutely incredible callback, the homage to one of my favourite movies in the main saga, The Phantom Menace, with Obi-Wan doing his underwater swim
The breather.
with his little rebreather. Love to see it. Love to see it.
Yeah, that's what was going through my head when I saw him swimming. I was like, yes, he's still got the breather on him.
So that was cool. That was just like
like walking into that swamp on Naboo all those years ago.
Exactly. It's just like those little nods. They're the ones that I really appreciate. The little kind of subtle nods to fans to kind of say, "We see you. We know you're there. We know that some of you are going to notice it. We love to see it." I got a criticism, which I know is probably not going to go down too well, to be honest. But I've got a criticism. And maybe it's the writing. Like, I don't really know. Okay. So as they're trying to sneak Leia back out, there is a very specific scene where some of the Inquisitors are going towards the disturbance, and they walk out. Obi-Wan's wearing like the Imperial officer with like captain or uniform or whatever. Yeah. That makes it out like they're maybe like 10, 12 feet away from them. You know, I think they would have sensed somebody that force sensitive, like that close to them.
I saw a comment online that was like, Obi-Wan's the only Imperial with a beard. They should have just looked for somebody with a full beard because they're all clean shaven. And I was like, that's a fair old point, Listen, there's loads of things with that we could be like, that is just so unrealistic, but it would not have helped this story.
No.
One bit.
No, and I totally get that I'm being very nitpicky, and people are probably going to be like, oh, why are you being so nitpicky? Why can't you just enjoy it? I loved it. I'm absolutely loving the series, massively loving the series. That is not me saying it was a bad episode and I didn't enjoy it. We're doing a review. Of course I'm going to be nitpicky.
Yeah. Do you know what? There's one thing that I just want to mention, and you touched on it earlier. And this is something that I was thinking about while I was watching this episode, but in particular the last episode when Obi-Wan and Leia took the ride with the alien guy who loved the Empire.
Freck?
Freck, yeah. There's a line in episode 6 where Obi-Wan says to Yoda, the ghost, no, it's a ghost Obi-Wan to alive Yoda, says, that boy is our last hope. And Yoda says, no, there is another. Well, Obi-Wan, we now know he spent a fair bit of time with Leia now. it's almost like he's not looking for her to be force sensitive or doesn't sense anything from her. Whereas with Luke, he's saying to Owen, "Is he showing? Is he all right?" Like, like I don't know. It just seems like surely Leia would be doing things with the force as well. Like I don't know. It's just striking me that he's spending that much time with Leia, and there's no mention of the force or
Maybe,
anything at all.
maybe he
It's
can.
just a comment, and I think it links back to Obi-Wan not thinking that Leia was maybe force sensitive in the later films.
Yeah,
So yeah,
yeah. No, I think we'll see what happens, right? Like again, as much as it's as really difficult territory with all of this, and we said from the word go that it was gonna be, because there's so much established lore that as much as it doesn't retcon that, it raises some question marks. So we've got to give them the benefit of potentially explaining it, or we know that season 2 is potentially on the cards. So there's still more that if we don't get answers this time round, we may get answers next time round.
What I find will be interesting about this whole season 2 stuff, if season 1 ends on a cliffhanger, then this whole we might get a season 2. They would have already planned a season 2 at the start of season 1.
Well,
So everyone's like, "Oh,
that would
it's
tell you
because it did so well its premiere." It's
that
not. It's you've set it up that way.
that would tell you that there isn't going to be a cliffhanger in episode 6.
Yeah,
No, I mean we'll see what happens. Let's be
I'm
honest.
excited for it.
I am excited for it as
Because the
well.
last 2 episodes, I would think, will be longer ones. They'll be full of action. Yeah, I'm really excited for the last 2.
100%. So, feel like we've very naturally got to a point to talk about scores.
Yeah.
Do you want to go first?
Yeah, I am going to score this one slightly lower. So I've given 2 9.9s so far for the first 2 parts, and then for episode 3, I've given 9.9s. This one I'm going to go with an 8.
Okay.
Because I feel like we saw Obi-Wan back in like Jedi robes as well. That was something that I was like, he looks like a Jedi again, not just this hermit guy.
I think that's
Um,
supposed to be symbolic as well.
yeah, absolutely. We see a bit more of the lightsaber. I love how polished Imperial bases are, though. That's just a side comment.
That's what
And
those mouse
it
droids are for.
it it reminds me very much so of the episode of The Mandalorian where they go to the prison.
Yeah.
It's like the New Republic prison ship, and I'm like, everything's just so glossy. Like it's just so clean. But yeah, an 8 out of 10 for me. It was a solid episode, and it's one of those ones you always need one of those in a series. It's just a shame that when there's only 6 episodes in the series, we're all expecting 6 like all
Blockbuster.
action. Yeah,
Yeah.
we are expecting like a full movie each episode. Actually, you watch a 2.5 hour movie, half an hour of it is complete and utter shit. But you have to have that half an hour.
Just for legal reasons, Brian was not calling this episode shit.
No,
He was
no,
making a point.
absolutely not. Disclaimer, yeah, absolutely. But no, 8 out of 10 for me.
Okay, I'm going to be very unoriginal and also give it 8 out of 10.
Oh,
I think, like you said, so very famously on this channel, if you've not seen our reviews of the other all the movies, go watch that that playlist, and also watch our I think it was our like 2 hour long premiere first ever Jedi in Exile piece of content where we ranked all the movies. Very famously, I'm not a fan of middle movies within the trilogies more than the other movies, and it's gonna be the same with this. I understand it, you need it. It's not filler because there are things going on, we are seeing things and all of that kind of stuff, but
the story.
this is definitely more world building, lore building, kind of creating some context and setting something up that we are hopefully going to then get the payoff from in episodes 5 and episode 6. So fully understand the need for it, but as somebody that watched it, still loved every second of it, don't get me wrong, still absolutely loved it, but not as engrossing, enthralling, engaging. Look at that 3-part list, all starting with the same letter. It's almost like I studied English at some point, eh? So yeah, really enjoyed it, but 8 out of 10 from me as well. So it is what it is. Still solid, still good, but just not quite as good or as impactful as the first 3 episodes for me.
Agreed, my friend.
Cool. And so that is it, guys. Let us know down in the comments below what you thought of this episode. Did you absolutely love it? Is it your favourite? Did you hate it? Did you think that everything about it was wrong? You let us know, because we'd love to hear from you. Other than that, guys, remember to like, subscribe, do all of that good stuff. Hit that notification bell so that you don't miss any of our future content. And all that is left to say is we will see you all really, really soon in the next one.
May the Force be with you guys.